Hello and welcome to season 4 of the Sinead Says Podcast. I'm so excited to be back. We actually have a longer season this time because I just wanted it to be longer. I just felt like it was going so quick and I wanted to speak to so many guests, and we were just a little bit more organised this time with getting guests. Well, shout out to Kyle who's doing all that because he has been helping my organisational skills. So for the start, I was like, I'm going to keep it plain and simple because, the start of the podcast should be like short and to the point. And I'm just going to update you on, the stuff I've learned and what I've been up to and like all the stuff I've learned within the last time I have seen you. But first, we shall talk about BetterHelp, which is the sponsor for the Sinead Says podcast for the 4th season running, which is amazing because I really held out for something like BetterHelp to sponsor me because it just aligns so well with the podcast, because all we do is talk about therapy, how amazing it is. And I just want to talk about, the times in your life where you should be having therapy. So I haven't had therapy for a little while, just, life has just been grand until I got, which I will tell you about now. I won't go into too much detail about my diagnosis, but I got diagnosed with adenomyosis, which is similar to endometriosis. And it's a bit of a chronic condition, which is actually hard to stomach and hard to take, and dealing with a bit of an identity crisis myself. So therapy is something that I'm booked in for the next 6 weeks after I go to Vegas on Monday. And I just feel like I need like that little bit of extra help. And these are the times where you need it, when you're going through a little bit of a identity crisis like myself, or when something like this happens. It's very good to have it. So we have a 10% discount code for BetterHelp, which is www.betterhelp.com/Sinead, betterhelp.com/Sinead. So what am I going to do today? I'm just going to, first of all, the last time I spoke to you, I was living in Bali. Me and Jack were living together, and this was before I went into my meditation retreat. I just wanted to talk about like my experiences going through a silent retreat, and something so heavy, I suppose, because it was, it's very intense to be silent and to be with your own thoughts and to meditate for 8 hours a day. So I had a lot of realizations, and I thought I would talk about those. So first, let me just update you. I'm sitting in Belfast right now. I am loving it. You know what's so funny? Somebody messaged me the other day, and they're like, "You just look like you're just not vibing it." And I was like, "This is probably the easiest I've settled into somewhere. Like, it really is the easiest." And I'm just loving it. And it's so handy to go home. So I'm really enjoying Belfast more than I actually thought. So I'm sitting in Belfast, came home from Bali. Jack went before me, and I did a month in a 300-hour meditation teacher training, which was intense, as you probably knew from my stories. Like, you could see that I was struggling in a sense. It's 13-hour days. Like, you're getting up at 5:30 and meditating, and you're in lectures constantly. I learned so much about meditation to teach you guys. I can't wait to teach you some of the things that, like, I literally can't wait to do them in person as well, because I have the Brave Retreats. I'm going to talk a little bit about my books as well, and what books that really caught my eye in the last month or two. I think I've been off now for like 2 or 3 months, so just some good vibes. So first of all, I just want to talk about the meditation silence and what it really taught me. So first of all, let me explain what the hell was going on. So basically, like, you have no phone, you have no books, you have no journal. You were allowed to journal for 15 minutes a day, or it was 2 15-minute periods. I could have fucking wrote a book with all the things that was going on. And we had to meditate for, all in all, just about 7.5 hours. And it was all separate. Like, we didn't have to sit for 7 hours all together. Like, you were allowed to eat, but everything was in silence, and there was no other way. There was nothing else to do but be in your own mind. So it's basically meditating 24 hours a day. And I had some realizations coming up, and I just thought I would share them because they were really lovely. First of all, I was like, I've actually created a really beautiful brain for myself, because when negative thoughts come in, I can easily recognize them and remove them and take them out. And I feel like that has been years of work of just, CBT, and just really understanding my thoughts are not me, as meditation will teach you as well, that we are not our thoughts. And I find like it is quite nice to be in my own head. And the funny thing is, people message me being like, Sinead, I don't know, oh my God, I couldn't do it. And I go, the fact that we can't sit with our own selves is a problem in itself. I don't know. Do you agree? I just felt like it's time to look inward, and you even think about our grannies and our granddads, and they would come home from their work and they didn't, you know, our great grannies and grandads, they didn't have TV. Like, they just sat with themselves, and, you know, or we're having massive spikes in anxiety and depression. We're having a focus crisis, because, you know, we can't focus, you know, students can't focus, and there's been loads of research on that. And, you know, meditation obviously is good for that. So I think we definitely need to delve into it. I mean, my goal would be for it to be compulsory in schools and for people to really understand it as well. Like, sometimes you go to a meditation class and no one lets you understand it and understand like the real benefits of it. So actually, one of the things as well is like really finding yourself and your own voice. Like, when you meditate, right, and you remove these, if anyone's done the Brave Way meditation course, you'll know that the cloud technique is when we are lying down and, you know, we watch the thought go by, and then when we get engaged by a thought, we just pop it into a cloud. And when we start, you know, understanding our thoughts, and our thoughts are not us, and we start removing these thoughts and becoming, and just letting it be a little bit silent and concentrating on the breath, like, that is when our true selves come in. And we have been conditioned since we were out of the womb, that, you know, all these things that people put on us, like all these ideas, all these patterned, you know, like these limiting beliefs, and any kind of beliefs at all, are all in our heads, and like conversations in our heads are usually not ours, they're somebody else's. So when you start removing these in meditation and becoming just that little bit of silence, like maybe you'll get like 1 second, 2 seconds before a thought comes in, those moments are like when your true soul comes out. And that's why you get all these revelations then when you're meditating. You know, you get a lot of dreams, and you're walking down the street one day and you're like, whoa, what an idea. Like, that's your true self. So anyway, like, that's just like a few things that really come up for me in the meditation camp. Okay, now the next thing that I think is so important, and like was a really nice experience, was, you know, you're meditating for 8 hours a day. Like, you want to sometimes you want to think about, obviously there's techniques, but sometimes I would be like, okay, let me think about something really nice and beautiful that higher my vibration. And I do this often in the Brave Way as well. But things that just kept popping up for me was experiences. I never once thought of any of the materialistic items that I had. All I could think about was, what came up for me most was my mum and dad taking them to Australia a few years ago. And it was just so nice to think about those memories, and all these memories just kept coming up of just all these amazing times, but it was all experiences with people that you love and with real life connection with other people. And I couldn't stop thinking about it, and it couldn't stop bringing my vibration, and I just felt like this is what it's all about. This is what it's about, experiences in life, and, you know, sharing those experiences with the people that you love. So as soon as I got out of there, like, you might have seen, no, you probably didn't see my YouTube. I bought my dad I was like, Mom and Dad, where do you want to go? Like, let's go on holidays. Like, life is for fucking living. You know, that's the only things that like really came up for me in my life. Like, it's all about these experiences. Like, nothing, you know, you don't remember the time you went to the shop and bought like a fancy handbag. Do you know what I mean? And like, yeah, that's fucking nice as well. Like, when you have like, when you can do that for yourself, but like the moments that really made me feel so warm inside were like all these experiences. So I was like, Mum and Dad, where do you want to go? Anyway, didn't tell Dad where we was going. I was like, take you in a surprise. Mum didn't want to go to Vegas, so me and Dad are going to Vegas like literally like 2 days from now. And I was like, let's just go and experience Vegas, like me and you, like let's have the crack. And even though I knew I was taking them on holidays, like I knew I was going to do it, but, you know, that made me even be like, oh, let's fucking spend the money. Like, let me spend my money on my mum and dad and have these experiences. And they just kept popping up. So I just think, like, we need to really value those experiences in life. And, like, sit now and think about your most joyous moments. And they're, you know, like when you buy your first house and everything's so nice, but then like it's the sharing it with the person, it's like experiencing that moment with them. So I just like wrote it down and was like, I need to have more experience. So then that's when I booked loads of stuff when I came out. I booked freaking Grand Prix, like I went to, I booked Tomorrowland. No, I booked Tomorrowland before it's like, and then I booked, you know, all these things for mum and dad, and I was just like, this is what fucking life is all about. So I thought I would just share that with you. And another thing that came, no, you know what, this is just in general life because I haven't spoke to you really, and just the value of really close friendships and what that can do for your own like anxiety. It takes me back to this moment of, so when I was leaving to go to the meditation camp, I locked my key in my bike and I only had my earphones and I could only call someone from my earphones because my phone and my keys were in my bike, and I was literally running late. I had to pack up my whole house that day. I really started, and I was like, oh my God, but you know what? See the feeling of having close enough friends, you know that when you ring them, they're gonna stop and help you. That really like just eases your anxiety, because I could have panicked at those moments. So I called Siobhan, and like I had that moment of, I know she's gonna come and she's gonna help me, and that feeling made me feel so safe. And there, in the book Lost Connections, I've talked about this before, that you feel less anxiety when you have close connections, but the only thing now is that we're having lost connections, as the book is called Lost Connections, because we're spending a lot of time on our phones. We're not connecting properly, we're not investing into new relationships as much, because, you know, say you move to a new place, like you need to really invest and give emotional investment through, you know, putting down your stuff and going and help your friend, like giving them a birthday present or throwing them a birthday party. Like those things just make another person feel so safe, and, you know, vice versa, then you can emotionally deposit into each other and it makes you feel so safe. So if you're someone who, you know, it's just another thing in your toolbox to start by emotionally investing into your friendships, because knowing that someone is going to be there when you need them, like ringing Siobhan that day and being like, hey, I'm locked out, I need to be somewhere right now, and I knew she was going to come and help me, and she did. Then I was already late packing up my stuff. My stuff was everywhere. I had to move out of the house, had to get on the bus to go to the meditation camp with other people, so it wasn't like I could just go by myself. I was all over the place. And then Becca shows up, my friend Becca, and she was like, Grant, I'll sort all this. And I was just like, I have such good friends, and to know that I can just count on them, even though it's my fault I got my fucking things locked, and that's actually so me. I just know that they weren't even annoyed at me, and they just were like, no, we've got you. And then I know that I would do it for them, and that they feel safe in me. Now, I've been friends with these girls for like 3 or 4 years, so this is different, but moving to a new place, it really takes you to do sort of stuff like that to become more safe. And the same thing happened with Jack. Jack moved to Bali with me, and, you know, because he's like a little bit shy, he was he was kind of like just going to the gym, and he wasn't really like doing things like, you know, he wasn't reaching out as much. And I was like, you need to have like more connections, like you need to feel safe and blah blah blah. But obviously boys don't really understand. I don't know, he doesn't understand it, and he was just like, no, I'm grand. Like he didn't want to reach out as much. He's like, no, I'm grand, blah blah blah. Anyway, when he started the football team, you know, they were all doing favors for each other, and like he says to me one day actually about, he was sick, he had like an infection, and his friends all texted him being like, hey, is there anything you need from the shop? And he just changed, and he won't know what it is, but it's because he has people that makes him feel safe, because these people were coming to the house and like being like, hey, do you need anything? Because he was sick. And that is just, even if you just ask your friend like, hey, do you need anything today, or just buying them like a bunch of flowers, that is really emotionally investing and can make someone feel safe. So, you know, at that point Jack felt safe, I felt safe. It was just lovely. And so basically those are the things that I really thought about, like friendships and experiences. I also had some Zen lives, but I also had some really, really, I had one day in the meditation camp where I just cried, because I'm guessing some emotion was sort of just left in there, but I didn't cry as much as I thought I would, because meditation does make you cry, and it's only because we don't deal with our emotions. I don't know, in Ireland we were taught, you know, even if you're mourning someone, you know, you don't talk about them, you don't bring them up, put it to the back of your head, you know, and these things go somewhere. When you meditate, they start to release, and you feel like so much ease, and afterwards, like, and at the time you're like crying, like the tears come down your face. The next morning you wake up and it's like, whoa, a weight has been lifted off me. So yeah, I had a few tears and had a few revelations, and after the 3 days I was so focused, I had so much ideas. And if you don't know the scientific research, so when you meditate, you know, it actually changes your brain, and it's been proven. It's amazing what meditation can do for your brain. And there's a thing down the middle of your brain called the corpus callosum, which connects the left and right brain. Now, one part of your brain is all thinking about the future, thinking about past, very computerized, like always on. And, that's great because we think more, that our brains have really evolved that we can do that. But the other side of the brain is where all the creative flow starts. And we often don't really tap into that as much unless we are like artists or in creative jobs. And that is where our true self is. And it's got this feeling of like euphoria. There's actually a really good TED Talk on it. TED Talk is called Jill Bolte Taylor. So type that TED Talk in and watch her experience, because one side of her brain, actually, she was in a stroke and it shut off basically, and she talked about being in this creative, like she literally felt complete euphoria. So this is the part of the brain that we like to connect in meditation. So in meditation, we connect those two with it's actually been proven that the corpus callosum gets bigger and thicker and connects those two parts of you together. So you can use your creative and your like computer brain, and you can merge them together and just become a full, better person of yourself. Meditation really does bring in that creative flow. So lots of creativity and stuff like that. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was, actually another thing that in the meditation course, there was a lot going on in the meditation course because it was all different techniques. I was questioning a lot of the techniques. I was like, okay, can I just have the scientific research and blah, 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 so I can teach this properly on to my clients and etc. And there was at one stage the teacher called me negative. No, guys, come on, negative. Anyway, because I was questioning so many methods, and I was like, and I stood up for myself, right? I stood up in front of the class when we were doing a presentation, and I was like, I just want to let you know that I'm actually not being negative, and I don't feel like that's a fair judgment. I just need to have solid proof and evidence, because I have over 200,000 people who trust me. And I don't want to give them something that is not fully, backed up. And I want to know how to teach it properly. I'm just asking questions. And I just really want to, a lot of people really have faith in my word. And I just would need it to be a thing. So I think that's unfair judgment. And I would never do stuff like that, guys. I would just sit back down. So yeah, like you guys really give me that strength. Because I know that like if I'm bringing something forward to the table, like anything I say, I try my best to make sure that it like is true, and you guys are just going to get the best value from it. So like I stood up for myself and stuff, and I was like voice noting Siobhan, she was like, go you, because Siobhan always sticks up for herself, and it's not that I just would rather no confrontation, so I just kind of chill back. So yeah, that was kind of cool. So yeah, what else have I learned since I last seen you? Oh yeah, I'm also going to Australia again, which is fucking amazing. I'm so excited to get back into Australia. I'm so excited to like really start, just my life. Even though my life has not stopped, but I'm just excited, like to do the mundane things in life, like do your washing, like even in Belfast, like doing my washing and all, and like just like doing like everyday routine stuff like you don't do in Bali. In Bali you're like always with people constantly. I don't know, it's different, and I'm just really enjoying those little mundane things, and I hope you appreciate them too, because they actually do bring you, I don't know, just that little bit of like reward. I'm excited for that. And that's another thing, actually. Someone says the other day about the farm work in Australia, and I was talking to them about it. And you know what? I was like, don't miss it. And everyone's like, is it not horrific? And I'm like, yeah, it kind of was. And it kind of is to go to a farm and, pick potatoes all day. But like, then I was sitting like really thinking about it in my journal, and I was like, you know what? You know why I always tell people not to miss it is because it feels so good to finish something that was hard. And then it actually tied into the meditation situation, because it feels so good when you do a 10-minute meditation all day, because you've actually disciplined yourself to sit down and be in your own head for 10 minutes, and it gives a spike of like happy hormones, and like it makes you feel like reward, and then you go about your day, and then throughout the day then you are just getting all these rewards. So the farm, I was like, why do I always tell people that it's amazing whenever it was fucking tough work, getting up at 5 a.m. and, living in a room of 4 people? Because like that feeling of reward is such a buzz. Like when you do something that's tough, it's like a fucking marathon. Like who the fuck wants to do a marathon? Like not really, but that feeling of euphoria when you finish it is so, so amazing. So that's why like just doing some things that are hard. Yeah, we're humans and we want to go for less effort. We want to find the easiest way, but sometimes doing stuff that's hard, like meditating, reading a book, marathons, running, challenging yourself like that, doing the farm work for 15 weeks on a farm, like things like that, like they just make you feel so good after, because you're so proud of yourself. It's like when you go traveling by yourself, and that moment when you travel by yourself, right, and you're being shitting yourself right up to it, and then you're just walking about it like a new city you've never been. If any of you just solo traveled and you're walking about a city and the sun is blasting and there's this feeling of euphoria because you've done something hard. So this is my challenge for you today, to do something hard. Book a holiday by yourself. Do something hard like a marathon, or, challenge yourself, because those feelings of reward they just give you such freaking dopamine, and I'm obsessed with that. Okay, so I'm going to quickly talk about the books that I read since I seen you, because I have some fucking really cool books and I haven't really talked about them because, first of all, I was at a meditation camp and I haven't been here. So I'm going to go on my Goodreads here. If you don't have Goodreads, then you should be getting it. First of all, I read this little book called Pebbles of Perception, and it's 100 pages. And it has all these little cute ideas. It just made me feel good to read this, views about life, just pebbles of perception, like these little tiny chapters of perception, of someone else's perception. And it was lovely. So very positive book. And my friend Mark recommended it. And I just was 100. And when you're in a reading funk. And I think I was in a reading funk. And I was like, I need something like 100 pages to just vibe with. And it's short chapters. And so absolutely loved that. Highly recommend that book. So fiction of the week or of the month. I read Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I'm not going to spoil it for you, so don't worry. And it's so funny because those 15 minutes of that time we could journal in the meditation camp, I was like busily writing books because I was just like reading her book before. Loved it, had a few tears in it, was really on edge a few times. So I definitely recommend that book if you're looking for some good fiction. I'm also reading this book called Breathe at the minute. I'm only a few, not that much into it. I'm hoping to get the author on the podcast soon. It's basically just about, I should have talked about this, like the power of the fucking breath in life. So even in the meditation camp, I also did a yoga teacher training in the middle of it too. So it was like yoga, but like yoga for meditation. It wasn't like vinyasa flows. It was just more like, this is the type of yoga for people like pre-meditation and stuff like that. So I learned stuff like that. So I learned a lot about how the breath works, all these different types of breaths that we can and do to really start healing our bodies and pushing our breath into different directions. Now, obviously, no, you don't know. So when I went in the meditation camp, I was obviously in a lot of pain from the adenomyosis / endometriosis, and I was just in a lot of pain. And I learned this thing called pelvic breathing, and it's like basically breathing right down into the pelvis. And I learned that a lot and did that with most of my meditations, and I felt a lot of relief in pain. I don't know if it was the diet or whatever. I can't really say, to be honest. But anyway, we're teaching ourselves about these breaths and just how effective different breaths can be, and like scientifically proven that even when you're going on stage, like there's specific breaths to really bring you back into coherence, and that you're not all mushy and crazy in your head like me whenever, because I have stage anxiety. I'm excited to see now what I'm going to be like with all these breathing techniques. So the power of the breath, and how yoga is not about postures. Yoga is about moving energy in the body, and I'm excited to get to know more about yoga. I'll probably do another yoga teacher training somewhere, because it was magnificent. So I highly recommend, guys, doing yoga to, the first few days I did yoga as well. Like I did it when I was doing it every day at the meditation retreat, meditation teacher training. I was crying a lot. Like the tears were coming out, and there was no explanation. And I kept trying to find this explanation. And my teacher says to me, Sinead, let's just say you leave a garbage bag in your apartment. Let's just say your body is your apartment. Sorry, I'm not doing good at the analogy. And you leave your trash, and you go away, and you leave the trash in the apartment, and you go away for months, and you forget about the trash. Come back to the apartment, and it stinks. Like, it stinks so bad. And then you're like, I need to take this trash out. So you get the trash and you put it out. You don't hook through that trash and see why it smells. you get the trash and you take it out. And sometimes that is the case with releasing emotions in meditation or breath work or yoga. Basically, sometimes we have trapped emotions and they're in our bodies, and then we just forget about them and we just avoid them and we don't deal with them and we leave it. And then we can come back to the apartment/body, and when it releases, like these tears release, then, you know, we don't have to search the bin bag to see what's wrong. We can sometimes just take the trash out. And I love that little analogy. So yeah, like the breath was very interesting. Like I can't believe, like I've learned so much about different types of breaths in the last meditation teacher trainings, but like here it was really in depth in terms of like, you know, yoga, and I just really, really loved to understand the breath, and now I'm a wee bit obsessed. So this book is called Breathe, and I'm all into it. And basically it's about this guy who clipped his nose and showed everyone what it's like to breathe, like did a scientific research of how to, and basically got really, really sick from breathing just through his mouth, and just the power of like breathing through your nose and blah, blah, blah. So highly recommend that book to anyone who wants to know more about breath and how it can be so healing for different things. I will definitely be going to my dad. My dad always is snores, so and you know, has trouble, and I think it's because he does never really learn to breathe through his nose, and he's been breathing through his mouth for so long, and it's causing problems. So I'm definitely going to look into that for him. I think that's pretty much what I'm going to talk about today. And also I'm going to just do a little agony aunt, because I just put up on my Instagram a little agony aunt section, and I'm just going to go through it now. Okay, someone just said this, and I was actually chatting about this to Siobhan. We were just chatting about it, you know, how to know if your boyfriend is the one for you. He's lacking a bit of drive and is very easygoing. I'm the opposite and it stresses me out, but would I be like this with other boys too? And I feel like sometimes there's so much good in someone, and then we only see the bad, and when we don't concentrate on the good, then we constantly think about the bad. So if your boyfriend is very easygoing, do you understand that there's so many people that have control in relationships? And it's so funny, because I was actually having a conversation with my friends, right? Now Jack would let me do anything I want. He's so chill. He's like, I'd be like, I need to go away for a year and meditate in a cave. And he'd be like, no bother, like, sure, you're my girlfriend, I've nothing to worry about. Like, he's so very chill. And then, you know, some people, and then you would think, you know, sometimes, oh, he's too chill, like, blah, blah, blah. But then there's people that, you know, have a boyfriend and he's like, no, you can't go away for like 2 weeks holiday. No. So I could be saying, you know, he's very easygoing. Like, he's, you know, he doesn't have as much oomph, but then he also allows me to be exactly who I am and accepts me for who I am. And sometimes we can concentrate on those bad moments, but one person isn't perfect and one person can't have all our needs. So what I recommend is, this is something I did as well. So I'm doing like an abundance course for the next Brave Way meditation course. And it, you know, even in relationships, like, to have abundance is not about searching and manifesting, trying to have something else in the relationship. It's about looking what's right in front of you and really having gratitude for that. Like, do you know what I mean? And then, like, sometimes we do question these things, and, you know, obviously if you have two different values and like your needs aren't being met, there is that. But, you know, we're so prone to looking at the bad that we just miss all the blessings. And that's what how to attract abundance is. It's like looking about what you have and really digging into it and sitting with gratitude. Because I'm like, oh my god, like sometimes I'm like, I'm so lucky that my boyfriend lets me do whatever I want. Like, it's fucking chill. Do you know what I mean? And then, like, some people are so grateful that their boyfriend really wants them to be around and like wants them to be in the country, etc., or wants them to be secure in that way. So, you know, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, like have a little go at doing relationship abundance, like asking yourself each day what my partner does for me that I really appreciate. You know, such small things like getting you coffee and, you know, making the bed, and, you know, he doesn't bother me too much. He lets me be whoever I want to be, and you just forget about those little things. So yeah, that's one question. Okay, this is a good one. We've talked about this loads, but walls are really high, struggling with intimacy due to past hurt. Any advice? Get the ick constantly. Very common for avoidance attachment styles. You can check my podcast in season 1, attachment styles, and last season we did one with Jen Cameron, which was all about commitment issues. Thing is, right, what I learned about this is that, when I got really hurt in one of my relationships, I just, avoided men for a year. Over a year, no, less than a year. I can't remember. Anyway, it was a long time, and I just didn't want to touch a man. They made me feel like I was like, ugh, like you're even when you're nice, you're not nice because no, I wasn't vibing it. And I was just like, I was protecting my heart for a little while, and I enjoyed that time where I protected my heart, and I feel like I definitely needed that to just get back to myself. But in terms of being in love again, I had to lean in. I had to lean in even when I got the ick. And that ick can sometimes come to your brain is trying to protect you from being so hurt from the last time. And I really felt that, and I really wanted to give things a go. So I always just leaned in, even if I felt like this pull back. And even sometimes I still feel that pull back. But I understand that it's just, a bit of healing I need to do. And when I lean in, I just sometimes fall more. And I'm like, oh shit, now I'm very vulnerable. And there's just something special about that vulnerable time. And I advise you to go full throttle. Sometimes better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. And if you've loved, then even if you're going through a heartbreak right now, like some people don't even get to experience being so in love that you're that broken. And as I always say, the heart that's been broken is a heart that's been loved. So it sometimes is worth the pain and worth the scariness. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it there because I wanted to keep this one short and sweet because the next few are like an hour. I don't even know if this short and sweet is probably like an hour. No, I don't think it is because I got to go pack for Vegas. Woohoo! Yeah, I hope that wasn't mumbo jumbo, and let me know what you think of it. So I'm interrupting the podcast live from Vegas. Dad's here. Say hey, Dad.
Hi, everybody.
Because I just wanted to give you a little discount code for the meditation course of the Brave Way and Tranquility Rings. Dad's crumbling the M&Ms whilst I'm recording, but yeah. So to celebrate season 4, we are giving you a discount code for the 21-day meditation course by the Brave Way and Tranquility Rings, which are mindful rings that you can footer and play with. So you can get 20% off for the next 48 hours with the code Sinead Says 20. And yeah, enjoy. And if you want to give me a review, give me a review. Thank you very, very much. And bye.